Hi guys, welcome to our channel, The Mechanics of Making Money. Today we're delving into the intriguing world of family fortunes and why they often disappear. Now when we think of family fortunes, we often picture grand estates, luxurious lifestyles, and generations of wealth. But the reality is wealth, especially when it's passed down through generations, has a tendency to dissipate. This phenomenon, often referred to as the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations rule, suggests that the wealth a family accumulates often disappears by the time it reaches the grandchildren of the original earners. Why does this happen? Well, the reasons are as varied as the families who've experienced it. It could be due to poor financial management, changes in market dynamics, or simply the dilution of wealth as it is divided among an increasing number of descendants. In this video, we'll be exploring the fortunes of 6 prominent families: the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Vanderbilts, the Medicis, and the Carnegies. Each of these families amassed great wealth in their time, through industries as diverse as banking, oil, railroads, and steel. Yet in spite of their vast fortunes, each of these families witnessed the gradual erosion of their wealth over time. The Rockefellers, the oil magnates who once controlled much of the world's petroleum industry. The Rothschilds, the banking dynasty that financed kings and wars. The Morgans, another banking powerhouse that shaped the American financial landscape. The Vanderbilts, the railroad tycoons who built an empire spanning the United States. The Medicis, the Renaissance-era patrons who ruled Florence. And the Carnegies, the steel titans of the Industrial Revolution. Each of these families has a unique story to tell, a tale of rise and fall, of wealth gained and lost. We'll take a closer look at how their fortunes were made, how they were managed, and ultimately, how they dissipated over time. So let's dive into our first case study, the Rockefeller family. The Rockefellers, a name synonymous with incredible wealth built on the black gold oil. But where's that fortune now? In the late 19th century, John D. Rockefeller, the patriarch of the family, founded Standard Oil. At the height of its power, Standard Oil was an industrial behemoth, controlling a staggering 90% of all oil refineries in the United States. This immense power translated into an equally immense fortune, catapulting the Rockefellers into the annals of history as one of the richest families ever. But fast forward to the present day, and the story is vastly different. Over time, the family's wealth has been spread thin across multiple generations in philanthropic efforts, significantly diminishing the once colossal Rockefeller fortune. Despite the family's continued influence and affluence, the days of oil-fueled opulence are long gone. Next, we move on to another financial titan, the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds, a family that once controlled the economic fate of nations. What happened to their vast wealth? Picture this, the 19th century, a time when the Rothschilds were the puppet masters of the world economy. From funding wars to shaping the fate of empires, their influence was unparalleled. Yet the Rothschild fortune today is a far cry from its pinnacle. Over time, the Rothschild wealth became a victim of its own success. As the family tree grew, the fortune was split among the numerous heirs. Each branch of the family pursued their own interests, further diluting the collective wealth. Add to that the emergence of new industries and the shifting dynamics of global finance, the Rothschild fortune couldn't keep up. Moreover, the 2 world wars took a heavy toll on their assets. The family's banking empire, once a behemoth, had to adapt and evolve, which inevitably led to a downsizing in their fortunes. From Europe, we cross the Atlantic to the Morgans. The Morgans, a dynasty built on the foundations of American banking, but even their wealth wasn't immune to dissipation. The story of the Morgan family is a classic tale of riches to rags. The family's patriarch, J.P. Morgan, was a financial titan of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. His banking empire, J.P. Morgan and Amp Company, was instrumental in shaping the American economy. But as we've seen with other dynasties, maintaining that wealth through generations is no easy task. The family's fortune began to dwindle in the mid-20th century. The Morgans, like many wealthy families, were hit hard by the introduction of federal income tax in the early 20th century. As the decades passed, the family's wealth was further diluted through inheritance, philanthropy, and economic fluctuations. Despite their financial decline, the Morgans' legacy lives on in the form of J.P. Morgan Chase, one of the largest banks in the world today. Our next stop, the Vanderbilts. The Vanderbilts, their fortune built on the iron roads of America. But their wealth train has long since stopped. In the late 19th century, the Vanderbilts were at the peak of their wealth, thanks to the railroad empire constructed by Cornelius Vanderbilt. The Vanderbilt name was synonymous with opulence and power. Yet as the generations passed, the fortune began to dwindle. Extravagant spending, lack of financial discipline, and a failure to diversify their investments played a role in their decline. The family's wealth was spread too thin among the many Vanderbilt heirs, and their once mighty fortune was reduced to a fraction of its former glory. The Vanderbilts serve as a stark reminder that wealth can be fleeting if not managed properly. The iron roads of America may have brought them fortune, but it was their inability to adapt and evolve that ultimately derailed their dynasty. We now journey back in time to the Medicis. The Medicis, patrons of the Renaissance, but their golden age didn't last. This influential banking family rose to prominence in the 14th century, ruling Florence for many years and producing 3 popes. Their wealth was so vast, they were the engine driving the Renaissance, funding artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. However, the Medici fortune didn't stand the test of time. Their decline began in the late 17th century, when the last Medici Grand Duke died without a male heir. The family's vast wealth was scattered amongst various relatives and in some cases seized by the state. Their banking empire collapsed and their influence waned. Today their legacy lives on through the art and architecture they funded, but the Medici fortune is no more. From being the financiers of the Renaissance to losing it all, the Medicis are a stark reminder of how fortunes can vanish. Finally, we turn to the Carnegies. The Carnegies, their fortune forged in steel, but even steel can melt away. The Carnegie family, led by the indomitable Andrew Carnegie, built an empire that reshaped the industrial landscape of the late 19th century. But as time marched on, so too did the forces that would ultimately erode this once formidable fortune. The family, once synonymous with steel, found themselves grappling with the realities of a changing economy. The rise of new industries, coupled with the decline of the steel industry, left the Carnegies struggling to maintain their financial foothold. And the vast wealth, once thought invincible, began to dwindle. But it wasn't just external forces that led to the family's financial downfall. Internal squabbles, mismanagement, and a lack of strategic foresight played their part too. As the family grew, the fortune was fragmented, each slice thinner than the last. Now, let's discuss how modern families can avoid this financial fate. In this day and age, preserving family wealth has become a science of its own. It's not just about hoarding money or investing in stocks and bonds. In fact, it's a complex amalgamation of strategies that involve diversification, education, and philanthropy. Let's start with diversification. Diversification is the practice of spreading your investments across various asset classes to reduce risk. It's the financial equivalent of not putting all your eggs in one basket. It's about investing in stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, and even alternative investments like cryptocurrencies. By diversifying, you can weather market fluctuations and economic downturns more effectively, ensuring the longevity of your family wealth. Next, we have education. And no, we're not just talking about sending the next generation to Ivy League schools. Education in this context is about financial literacy. It's about teaching your family how to manage wealth, make informed investment decisions, and understand financial markets. This way, they won't just inherit your wealth. They'll also inherit the knowledge and skills to grow and preserve it. Last, but certainly not least, we have philanthropy. You might be wondering, how does giving away my money help preserve it? Well, strategic philanthropy can actually serve multiple purposes. For one, it can help reduce your taxable estate, leading to significant tax savings. But more than that, it can also be a way to instill values of responsibility and generosity in younger generations, ensuring that they don't just become rich, but also socially conscious individuals. So, there you have it. Preserving family wealth today is about more than just making money. It's about diversifying your investments, educating your family about finance, and engaging in strategic philanthropy. It's about creating a legacy that's not just wealthy, but also wise and generous. Remember, wealth preservation is an ongoing process, not a one-time event. We've taken a journey through time and wealth today, exploring the rise and fall of some of history's most famous fortunes. From the evaporated oil money to the fragmented fortunes of banking, we've seen how the mightiest dynasties can derail. We've looked into the lost Renaissance riches and how even the steel fortunes melted away. In preserving wealth today, we learned the importance of diversification, adaptability, and the power of education. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Stay safe out there.